Hi there, it's Polly here with Mr. Snoots. Doing tea talks because tea talks are fun. Again, a viewer question. So someone's talking about props and so forth, and props and mechanisms in games, are they necessary? Okay, so first off, let me say that we're talking role-playing games. So let me say that Dungeons and Dragons, when it came out, was done by tabletop miniatures players. So they did have miniatures in mind when they did original D&D, because they were basically seeing this as an extension of a medieval fantasy miniatures wargame, chainmail. However, you can see immediately in those early rules, they say there's no need for them whatsoever. No need for miniatures at all. They absolutely tell you. It might be useful to use them as a bit of a context of who is where and who's dealing with what, but most of this will be done with sketches on paper and theatre of the mind. So that remains perfectly true for all role-playing games. No props necessary. If someone's telling you you need props, that's because they're trying to sell you something. I have found it very strange to walk into modern role-playing clubs where they're playing D&D 5th edition, where you can see the whole game. They've set up a table and they've spent thousands. They've got castles and model ships, and they've got, peasants standing around, and sheep and dogs and taverns, and this is very expensive terrain, often from approved sources, and some of them are actually having to subscribe to different figure printing services. This module's come out, here are the official miniatures for this. That's nice. You don't need any of that, but that's nice physical dressing, but you've limited your play to what can be put on a table. In this case, the props are interfering with your game. They've limited the whole thing. You attempted, in the Taoist sense, you have attempted to place boundaries around the boundless. You've attempted to enclose the infinite. Role-playing games are infinite. They don't exist on that table there. So, yes, let go of your attachments, my friends. Some props and mechanisms, however, are very useful for putting games in context and sparking the imagination. I find artwork is very useful. Again, many modern games have gone way too heavy on the artwork because people feel it adds value to the published book. It doesn't, except in set points where the art deliberately contributes to the mood and sparks ideas. Now, so, for instance, I've just gotten hold of The Electric State, and this is a role-playing game that's entirely inspired by artwork. And the artwork is magnificent. It's all through here, and, it's moody and spooky, and it directly contributes not only to the game setting, but as you go through the game, it's sparking off your ideas. So, in that case, art is good. But art also means drawings that you do yourself. Drawings, just scribbles of what that castle on a hill looks like, scribbles of here's what that village might look like that you go into. Little top-down maps can sometimes spark ideas. Now that doesn't mean that you need all these over-complex maps of villages and cities. Guess what? When you walk through a village or a city or a street, you don't have any overhead views. You just see what's in front of you. So this is a kind of a falsity. But a friend runs a very beautiful setting of her own creation, and one of the things I always noticed is it's sort of a, what would you call it? Sort of a bit of a Shadowrun-y kind of technological level setting. So, it's modern-ish sort of cities. So she just has like a general road map that shows cities and where they are in relationship to each other, and some of the different zones in this place she's got. And it's sort of interesting to see people focus on the map. So where are you? Well, you're in this city here. Now, can you see how it's put into different sectors? You're in this particular sector here. These are the groups that run this particular sector. This is how you live. This is where you go. Oh, what's this city down here by the beach? Ah, that one's called Arcadia. That's a different zone. There's not much travelling between the zones. People tend to stick to their own, or because you're not allowed to. No, most people tend to work and live, in one area. But no, there's a train. Let's go and check this out. Instantly, it's given them ideas to go and check out. And is this wilderness over here? Oh, that's a wilderness. What's this island out here? Oh, people say there was a war out there ages ago, and a lot of the islands are covered in junk from that. People don't go out there because it's dangerous. Wow. Can you get boats though? It's provided ideas. So sometimes props like this are invaluable, just for sparking off, particularly in a sandbox style campaign, sparking off thoughts of people where they might want to go, what they might want to do. So yes, within reason, and again, this is the thing, all things in moderation. Do you need ridiculously over detailed maps of any of those cities? No. Hey, we want to go down to the research centre. Okay, I don't need a street guide. Yeah, you got down there. Someone's chasing us in a car. Good. Car chases are done in a great fury and frenzy. I just need to know that you're trying to escape these guys and end up at the docks as you do so. Fantastic. So, yeah, in moderation, in reason. Another thing, an interesting prop that I have seen used in a couple of systems are clocks. Now, I do see a lot of people, again, the sort of 5th edition D&D thing, because it's basically just a game about, killing things. They're recording lots and lots and lots of foes and doing session prep, which again I find funny because I just run things off the cuff, and so do most old school umpires, because our players will just head off at a 90-degree turn from the adventure that you've created for them, literally at a drop of a hat. You just mention, oh yeah, we're coming to this village. Where were you? So at the end of a session, you'll say, okay, so where are you guys planning on going? Oh, well, we are going to go to the, we're going to go up the coast where they said that old castle was, on the headlands, because yeah, I think we really want to check that out. Good. So over the week, you'll sit there. I'll draw my own maps of that castle, because I'm going to, seed some monsters. I want a spooky village down the bottom. I kind of want, I'll make it a bit kind of vampiric, like these people won't talk to you. There's something in the castle. Everyone basically doesn't want you around, except some people think that the thing that lives in the castle might feed on the visitors rather than the locals. So they're going to encourage you to stay because it makes it sort of like less likely. Yeah. So here we got the thing. And then you'll start the session and good. So, you guys are going down the coast? Yeah, we are. I want to buy some stuff first. We'll go here, we'll go there, we'll go there. Oh, there's a little shop down here by the edge of the hill. Oh, by the edge of the hill. Yeah, there's just like a little shop, and there's an old road, and it goes down and just heads off towards this sort of mountain. Oh, there's a mountain? Yeah, you can see it in the distance. Oh, cool. Let's go to the mountains. You bastards. Yeah, and this is typically what they do. You'll mention an NPC and suddenly they're interested in this person's entire life story. So inventing stuff off the cuff is second nature to all of us. So certainly laying out some preparation can help. It's not necessary. But a cool mechanism I have seen is clocks, where it puts the bad guys and it puts pressure that's on the characters in a context. So, for instance, if you have a setting where something is going on, we're coming into this village, okay, there is a crisis going on. If you have different stages of this crisis, and this is how the antagonist would like this to go. First, they'd like you to come in, then they'd like to lie to you and convince you to do this, then they'd like to get you into a exposed position, then they'd like to sort of, unleash the hounds on you or what have you. You can do these sorts of, and of course you can thwart this at any given time, but this is their perfect plan. But there can also be like, if there's weirdness in the town or whatever, you can put levels of what's going to happen. First you notice people aren't talking to you. Next thing you notice that, some people are actually starting to follow you. Eventually you end up with like an armed mob telling you to get out of town by sundown brown, and and the umpire can kind of tick these off as things get progressively worse. So it gives some mechanical gears to events and lets you kind of push some story and action. And you can do the same with character aims and goals. If they have something that they are striving for, okay, you can break that down into milestones of achievement. This guy wants to reclaim his lost throne. This one wants to find their long lost little sister. This one is trying to seek the mighty sword of Fizbin. Yeah, you can break it into clues and stages and things that will happen, and it kind of lets you progress them on it. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's a limited time for them to do it, but you've got stages to work from. So sometimes working out plot clocks like that can be a useful thing. I have also seen time clock style things done where essentially, in the case of say bad guys doing something, their plan will rotate around or will go down this list until fruition, but the stuff the player characters do can either stagger it back a couple of steps or erase it. So these are useful, unnecessary but useful things. Look, some people use music, of course. That's going to depend on the group. Having music running can be really irritating at times, particularly if you've got people who are hard at hearing or it's a long table. But sometimes having background music can be nice. Some background sound effects stuff, it can be nice. It's just going to be on an ad hoc. What's going to work? Are you doing a gothic horror thing? Having a soundscape might be nice. Raiding the internet for cool pictures of things has worked really well. So when a friend was running a horror setting, she wanted to show us, what this kind of house looked like. She just goes on the internet and finds, decrepit, paint peeling house kind of photos and she pulls them out. Yeah, the place you're approaching, it looks like this. Fantastic. Those sorts of props are great. Sometimes it can be fun to have something like a letter written out. Okay, so we searched it, right. You find this, and you can hand that over. These are nice little props which can sometimes dress up a game. They're not necessary, but they are a sweet thing. But the secret in all of this is you can run all of these role-playing games essentially with no preparation other than your own wits and a sense of the type of story that you're wanting to tell. You may find it easier if you prepare some things beforehand, like setting and characters. Just an idea of what, where, when, and who people will be running into. If you want, you can create story clocks and so on to give a context to whatever things are happening if you have a plot that's running. Anything beyond that is just really going to be icing on the cake. But the one thing you will never need is miniatures and terrain. That's really the last thing you're going to actually have to make a game run. Miniatures people sometimes like having on the table. They're fun and they like painting them up and, hey, here's me. Okay, that's kind of great. And sometimes they can be useful, but turning a role-playing game into a board war game, I think there are some games that have been specifically designed for it, such as things like the Fantasy Trip and so on, and they do that quite well. But again, that can just be done with counters and hex maps, so it's unnecessary. The end paragraph of this little sermon is back to what I said at the start. If someone is telling you that you have to have expensive props to play these games, it's because they're trying to sell those props to you. You don't need professionally printed battle boards, costing you hundreds of dollars. You don't need $80 model trees, and you don't need any of it. You can always play it with paper, pencils, some dice, and your friends. The one essential ingredient to this whole thing, the friends. And that's what the game was always about, wasn't it? Just being there with your friends and sharing a story. So do that. If you do only one thing, share a story with your friends. Okay, everybody. Hopefully I will see you around a game table sometime. Bye.